Thank you, Anne. Firstly, I've got to apologise because I'm very croaky. I could hardly speak yesterday, but when you commit to something, you show up. And to really endorse, not that that's what we're here for, and I don't really know Anne and Joel, but people don't understand the value and importance of PR. And people think it's kind of a soft, it's warm, it's cuddly, it's kind of a nice to do rather than a need to do. And other people understand a bit about it, but they think PR and advertising are the same. They're very, very different. And a master of PR, who I've done several podcasts with, is a guy called Charlie Mullins. And I recommend anyone to look at him, look at his story. But the example I want to bring out that's relevant to PR is Charlie is the world's best known and wealthiest plumber, okay? At 15, he left school, and he'll say, with hindsight, that was a mistake. I should have left at 14 because I knew I only ever wanted to be a plumber. But he built Pimlico Plumbers and sold it for £146 million. Now, the important thing isn't the number per se, it's the multiple of EBITDA that he sold for. Because the average business in the UK will sell and be valued at around 3.94 times EBITDA. Charlie sold Pimlico Plumbers for 29 times EBITDA. And the single biggest reason that he attributes that massive multiple to is the brand. That everybody, literally globally, Pimlico Plumbers knew him, but certainly within London, every household would have known Pimlico Plumbers and Charlie Mullins. And so he says, Mike, I'll turn up at the opening of a handbag if necessary because I want the PR. And we saw him last Friday, and he'd been on Talk TV in the morning. He'd done an interview with the Evening Standard, and PR. Never miss an opportunity. You might think it's about driving your sales and profit, and of course it is. But if ever you want to exit, understand that it will be the strength of your brand that will determine the multiple that you will exit at. Now, Secret Millionaire, after that program, it's 13 years ago now, people would say to me, Mike, what's the secret of success? And as it says up here, success is a system. It's not a secret. And I would sometimes get a bit frustrated saying, so many people think that there's some fairy dust secret, and there are charlatans out there saying, come along to my mastermind, my masterclass, and I'll teach you the secrets of success. And the only people that make money in a gold rush, or guaranteed to make money in a gold rush, are the people selling shovels. They are making the money on the training, on your desire, your dream, or your fear of not being successful. So it is about systems, and I want to focus a lot on systems today. And I saw it all the time. I built a business with Alfie Best, a gypsy billionaire, born in a lay-by in Leicestershire in a gypsy caravan, now worth £1.2 billion. And so many people would buy into Best Wealth, a business that we built, and they just thought, being associated to Charlie, if I could rub something off of him, I'll somehow be successful. It's about the work, it's about your attitude to change, mindset, and systems. And he was always really clear on that, but also we do stories, he was a great storyteller. And we need to find out within business our story and so on. But let me crack on. It's not a secret, it is a system. And systems are changing all the time. I'll just put these on so that I'm getting old. I can see my slides rather than look back, okay? And lastly, don't go for what people say works. Look for proven systems in your business and how to grow your business. Now, a little bit about me. Educationally, I went to a school called Bretton Woods. It was once called by an eminent Cambridge psychologist a demonised depository of social waste. And as a kid, I said to my mum, what does that mean? Don't worry, son, she said. I said, no, what are they saying? And she said, well, they're saying that you're social waste, that we're social waste. And that made me angry. And sometimes it's that anger, that frustration that can drive you to prove them wrong. It was a pretty awful school. But you know what? If you've got a desire to win, if you've got a desire to learn, and you keep looking at what are the systems that make it work. So I started to build business. I was very ambitious. By 27, I had 3 businesses. By 28, I was bankrupt and homeless. And my wife and I delivered pizzas on mopeds for 2 years. But in that 2 years, I went to the library and I read books by Branson and Nightingale Conant and people who understood understood about mindset. Branson was particularly interesting to me. He wasn't a billionaire then, but he was already a multi-millionaire. And he would talk about adapt and evolve, fail, but learn, adapt and evolve. And it's then about the systems that make the difference. So education's always been important to me, and it's still a big part of my life. Giving back's important to me as a child, growing up firstly in a caravan and then sharing a bed with two brothers till I left home. And so on, not a bedroom. I was a recipient of charity, of community. And so it's an important part of what I do now. 2 days a week of my time are purely voluntary community charity. And then property, not far from here, is the Bankrupt Hospital. I bought that with a couple of mates a few years ago. We're looking to develop that into 350 homes. And I do that. But mostly, what I do is to work with businesses having failed and then having built back and built business across 20 countries, exited business across 20 countries, and then since then studied what are the people that build amazing businesses, overcome amazing challenges, what are the systems that they use to become successful. And my podcast, Success is a System, is about interviewing them. Whether it's Dame Mary Archer, when Jeffrey got sent to prison for fraud, how did they as a family, when they lost the family estate, how did they bounce back? And she is amazing. She was mentored by a Nobel Prize winner in 1977. She was a solar scientist back then. And when you listen to her now, the passion she has, the systems for overcoming issues, for railroading through barriers that get in the way are quite incredible. So that's sort of who I am and what I do. But more than ever, I say to people, if it isn't working for you or you aren't growing as fast as you want to, it'll be a system in your business that isn't working or used to work amazing, but it's changed. It's become outdated. And often people think that, well, I'm good at what I do. I'm sorry, that isn't enough. That'll get you a good job, or it'll let you build a business that is really just a repackaged job. And earlier, when I was listening to a panel, there's some amazing people on that panel, some amazing businesses. But I want to talk particularly to the SMEs. And why do I say that? Do you know there are less than 3,000 businesses in the UK that have 1,000 or more employees? There are only 8,300 that have more than 250 employees. 99.9% of all businesses in the UK are tiny. 74% have no employees. They are literally solopreneurs. And a lot of that is because they aren't investing in themselves, in their learning, in their systems. They're not adapting and evolving. They're just doing a good job. But you need to understand, to take something from a skill or a service or a product to scale, you need to look at the systems that do that. And the systems that I talk about with people, I think there's a pointer here. Firstly, people. I have never, ever, ever met any business, and I've worked with millionaires, multimillionaires, decamillionaires, centimillionaires, and billionaires, not a single one that hasn't built on great people and great people policies and great people systems and adapting to the changing ways that people want to work. It will always come back to the people, okay? Marketing, how are you getting your voice out there? How are you attracting customers in? And these are changing all the time. Go back 10, 20 years, you could put an advert or a billboard or something like that. People would see it, they'd make a number, they'd call you. Nowadays, you've got to go out and find them where they commune. What's their community? Is it Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and so on? And then you've got to suck them in through a nurture sequence. But if you're not marketing to them, speaking to them, and attracting them in, and you've not got a clear system for that, you're not going to move forward. Sales funnel. We never used to talk about sales funnel. It was just about selling to people. But if you think of it in numbers, there are always ratios. How many people do you have to get to see your stuff to then see what percentage of those convert to click or be interested in your business, to make an inquiry, to drill through to a connection, a conversion, a conversation, and a close, to close that sale. Okay, what's your funnel? If you haven't got a funnel and it's not language you're currently using to get a close, maybe you need to look at the business. So in all of this, it's never about being a good architect, a good plumber, a good marketeer. It's, have I got the people systems, the marketing systems, the sales funnels, the operations, the finance, or the strategic systems that are going to make my product, service, skill a business at scale. And once you get that and realize it's not about being the plumber, the architect, the dentist, whatever it is, it's about the systems that make that scale, then you can scale your business. It breaks my heart a little bit that 74% of businesses have no employees, and actually they're working for £1,000 a year less on average than the average employee, which includes people working on a till or in a coffee shop and so on. So most people want to do well, but they think it's about having a good skill, and they forget or don't realize that it's actually about the other systems. So these systems change constantly, and change is changing at a quicker rate now than ever before. We have got to adapt, evolve, change, and then start predicting where is that change coming from. Now, we see that in things like AI because it's so much noise. I'm going to talk a little bit about this. And so we think, oh, I'm going to get into AI. When we've got faulty finance systems, we've got terrible people systems, we haven't got marketing systems or sales systems. Getting AI and being an early adopter of that isn't going to help if the other systems in your business are not there or are not working or are outdated. So we've got to look at, how do we approach change? Do we review all of our systems in those key areas every year? Do we review them constantly? Is there someone in our competitor set who is doing that differently, better or best relative to us? What are they doing differently, better or best? And can we copy that and emulate that and learn from that? And all too often, we kind of get into our own problem and we get sucked into firefighting, which does not help. So you need a system for change as well. It's really important. And people think, oh, if I can get big, then I'll be protected. Some of the biggest companies in the world, if they don't change, if they don't adapt, if they don't evolve, they die too. So scale is no protection to that. And you know, one of the ones I'd like to highlight particularly is Kodak. Do you know that Kodak invented the digital camera? But they shelved it because they were worried that it would affect their film sales, and film sales was the biggest part of their revenue. So they parked it, hid it, and then other companies come up with digital cameras, and that's basically destroyed Kodak. And we can look at all these and think they're amazing companies, but they didn't adapt, evolve, change, or they didn't adapt, evolve, or change some of the systems in their business or their approach to business enough or quick enough to survive. And so, again, it's not about how good you are. If being the best at what you do was the biggest prerequisite to success, then the biggest restaurant chain in the world would not be McDonald's. Because I don't think any of us, much as I love a McDonald's, would say that it's the best restaurant in the world, with the best food in the world. Equally, Coca-Cola wouldn't be the world's biggest drinks company if it was about having the best product that's good for you, that's beautifully presented and that. Scale and relevance, and if you take Coke as an example, it's about arm's length of desire. We're going to be everywhere where you might be able to see us, and if we're not got the product there, we'll have the branding there. You cannot go through many days without seeing Coke somewhere at some point, because they're constantly trying to change. So the way I often talk about this if I'm working with students or on courses is, let's imagine that we all play Monopoly and we like that game and we get good at that game. And it's been a part of many people's lives since they were little, but we're going to mix it up a little bit because we're bored with the same old, same old. So what we say is, right, today I'm going to change one rule, and then tomorrow you can change one rule. Now, if we lose, we start saying, that's not fair, you can't change that. But in life, and even this morning, we heard Brexit had done this and COVID had done that, and we're waiting for the certainty of what Rachel Reeves might do. The fact is, those rules are changing every day. Now, if you wait till they're right for you, or you stamp your feet because it's not fair, you will die. And already, I mentor 30 to 50 businesses in any given month. But every day I'll hear people say, I'm not going to do anything till after the budget. Well, they've been saying that for the last month. And then I know that after the budget, they'll say things like, well, it's December, Christmas, getting hold of anyone in December, it's not a good time. We'll wait till January. And then in January, they'll say, well, no one's got any money in January, have they, Mike? We don't want to waste our marketing money, or we're going to ease into the new year. There is never a day or week, a month that people don't procrastinate or justify their unwillingness to change. Excuse me. And change or die, basically, is what I often say. So look for how you can take action, make change now. Never next week, next month, next year, because it will be too late. And bit by bit, there'll be someone who will leapfrog you. And let me talk about some of that. Now, I know these slides are a bit busy, so these slides will be made available if anyone wants to get into the detail. I'm not going to go into all that detail. But, firstly, do you want to be the first to change or a fast follower? And I mentioned earlier the numbers of big business, small business, and the fact that 99.9% of businesses in the UK, 5.6 something million, have less than 250 employees. If you're the first adopter or the groundbreaker, there's a good chance you'll go bust. Why? Because it costs so much to be the early adopter. And so I would say if you're an SME, it's far better to be ready to change, be aware of change, be aware of what's going on in your sector, and be a fast follower. Because trying to be a groundbreaker costs 10, 100, much, much more than being an early adopter. And yet I'm seeing it within AI. I'm seeing some terrible examples of nurture where I say no to something and the next day I get the next email in a nurture sequence. And I go back and say, I said no yesterday, and then the next day I get the next email in a nurture sequence. It's making me stop working with some companies because AI is not there yet. Now, is it going to be an important part of our life? Absolutely. Do we need to build it in? Absolutely. Is AI going to revolutionize your business? No. But people who can use it and have variations of it that work may destroy your business. So it's the use of rather than in and of itself that makes the difference. So let me just go through a couple of examples. We tend to look at these big companies and we tend to think, oh, if you're big and if you're early, you'll get in there. But there's some examples on there now that just sort of show that, Google, who we all use, and Google are terrified, I can tell you, about Chat and Claude at this moment in time. I'll go as far as to say they can sue me if they like. Google are manipulating a lot of that search, and they're being pursued and sued in over 30 countries for that because they're trying to force it. The difference with AI and the reason it's being used as a search, people are starting to trust it more. That it'll just give me everything if I ask for. Find me a plumber in Peterborough that's got more than 4.5 stars on Trustpilot and has been operating for more than 10 years. Boom, it'll give me the ones that tick those boxes rather than the ones that are advertising. So even Google that survived and leapfrogged these companies is now at risk. Why? Because maybe they came a little bit late. And just yesterday, JP Morgan and Google were saying they think the AI bubble is going to burst. Certainly all of those companies, if you look at it, even OpenAI, say they're all overpriced. Okay, does that mean it's going to disappear? Of course not. But I wouldn't be too soon to jump into which partner or too soon to take on a system that you haven't proven to be relevant and resonant and working within your business. And we can go through that. So ask yourself the question, you have got to change. You need the systems of change, but do you want to be first and carry that cost? Do you want to be a fast follower and learn from what worked and what didn't work? And I would certainly, for SMEs, recommend being a fast follower rather than the groundbreaker, because that scale is really hard to cost, to afford, and it still won't make a bad business good. Okay, I do a lot in construction as well, and when power tools came in, a lot of tradesmen were saying, oh, it's not as good as the original tools. Well, maybe not, but if someone can do it in half the time and therefore their cost is half, you may not be relevant anymore because you're not economically competitive anymore. But if you think a power tool in and of itself is going to build a cabinet, well, that's just stupid. A power tool in the hands of an idiot will still not build this cabinet, for instance. So with any tool, whether it's AI or any system, we need to ask, how do we use it? Are we skilled in using it? In what areas will we use it? When will we use it? And is it effective for the job at hand? So many people are building it in and it's failing because it's being overpromised. Now, that'll change very quickly and you need to keep on top of it. But I would change, but be careful about when you change. I would plan for change, but schedule that in. I would allow change, but I don't want to lose customers because of change. I want to make sure I do it at the right point on the journey, okay? So, and Jack Welch was famous for saying, if the change outside of your business is greater than the change inside of your business, then let me tell you, you are going out of business. And so change before you have to, but don't change too soon. And I know that's a challenge, yeah, but when, Mike? Follow the market, look at your competitors, and look at what's working, and trial and test and adapt and evolve. But don't just say, right, we're going to get rid of this and we're going to go to this new system until you know that system is working. Because jumping too soon kills businesses as well. Okay, so let's look at a couple of these systems. And this one here is the sales system. A lot of people don't appreciate the importance of sales. That sounds stupid. Surely you must as a business owner. But we don't like sales. It's the lifeblood of business, but so many people are scared of selling. And I will work with a lot of businesses, and I'll talk, and I've done that with Amazon and Tesco's and Coca-Cola and Tesco's, loads of businesses like that, but mostly it's SMEs now, between sort of startup and 600 million. That tends to be, that is the companies I'm working with at the moment. But they all have different fears of the close. So what you might get is a great person who'll go in, they'll sell all the attributes, they'll sell all the benefits, they'll sell all the credibility of the company, but they don't ask for the order. Now, if that's you and your behavioural profile, and behavioural profile of some profiles, their fear of closing is so great they will postpone it, particularly high eyes. So they're the people who are good at selling, but they're rubbish at closing. You need some D in your profile to be able to close, because the biggest, most important thing to a high eye is to be liked or loved, okay? Their biggest fear is to be rejected. So what they'll do is they'll sell, and then they'll say, well, I'll leave that with you, shall I? And I'll give you a call on Friday. Why wouldn't you ask for that order there? Why wouldn't you say, have you got any more questions? No? Great. Well, I've got a contract here. Should we sign up now and I can get it booked in for next week? I can double most businesses I work with within 3 months if I can get them to change the way they sell or close. And I've done that with hundreds and hundreds of businesses. Their approach to sales is just bad in most cases, okay? But also the approach to sales has changed. It's not about advertising out anymore in that basic one-dimensional sense. It's about outreach. It's about finding where are your ideal customers, communing. How can we get the leads and feed them in? You know, where do you get your leads? Is that still giving you the quality of leads that you want? Are you pre-qualifying those leads, or are you scattergunning? And it's one of the most important systems because it is the lifeblood of business, and yet most people haven't got a clear system for selling. ICP, what's your ideal customer profile? Well, it's for everyone, Mike. Oh God, you know, the riches are in the niches. It's about focus. People want to believe the company they work with knows them, is specialist in their sector. And it might be that everyone could use your product or your service, but you should find that niche that is the core, that is most likely to buy your product. Know them, target them, and nurture them through a lead sequence or a nurture sequence. And if you haven't got lead gen, outreach, nurture sequence, ICP, VSL, and you don't know what those things mean, I would start working with somebody to get that, or even going on to chat or Claude or AI generally and saying, right, for the next hour, I want you to teach me about the new ways of selling, to teach me about sales funnels, to teach me and help me create an ICP and so on, because selling has changed beyond recognition in just the last couple of years, because people aren't actively looking. And I don't know if there's web developers in the room, I'll probably upset them, but you know, often they'll say, you know, it's about SEO. Well, it is if you're searching, but most people aren't searching in that traditional sense anymore. So I've got to find them at the point that they're open to influence, which might be Facebook. And I used to think, oh, Facebook, I hate it. It's like, eh. But then I found that even the CEO of BP was on Facebook when he was talking to his mates about football, or on Facebook when he was looking at what his daughter or son or cousin is doing as they travel around the world. And if I can interrupt them with something that's relevant, resonant, and interesting, as he's whipping through those feeds or she's whipping through those feeds, I can connect. If I can connect, I can start a conversation. And from a conversation, I can talk about or move towards a process for conversion and close. but we need to know where they are, who they are, and how to connect with them. It's really absolutely key to do that. You've got to become rifle focused. And so many businesses fail because they try and be all things to all people. One size fits none. One approach fits none. Trying to scattergun and attract everyone never works. Increasingly, more than ever, it's about that rifle focus, targeting customers. Now, and on that, to me, it's about the marketing, the difference between marketing and PR, advertising and PR. They are different, but that is a massive driver. And I want to talk about, I was reading something by Alex Hormozy, and if you don't know him, I'd follow him. He overtook, forgotten the lady's name, for Harry Potter author, in terms of the most book sales. He sold 1 million books in a day 2 months ago. How do you do that? It was all online, and he had different strategies. And if you look at his 100 million sales strategy books and so on, he is a master of it. But what he talks about is you've got to be omnipresent. And he says you should be doing between 3 and 10 posts a day on all platforms. Now, most companies think, Jesus Christ, Mike, I'm not even at 1 a day yet. And even then, I thought 1 a day is probably going to be too much. And if I put 3 a day up, people will say to me, oh God, your posts are everywhere, you're really annoying me. But they're your mates, they're not looking to buy it. They're not relevant or resonant. And every platform will suppress any post within 2 hours unless it's already really going viral. So actually, if you open it on every 2 to 4 hours, there's no posts up anyway. People won't see them. You need to be getting, in my view, at least 4 posts every day on every platform. And the beauty is, most of them, that's free posts. That's about talking to conversations and subjects that are of relevance or importance to your customer base, your ICP. And Coca-Cola don't say, oh, we're already the most popular, so we won't advertise. They're everywhere. They also never promote Coca-Cola. You might say, of course they do, Mike. All their adverts are about it. No, their adverts are about family, friends, events, love, Christmas, seasons, football, sport. And at the very end, it'll be click, click, good, and the Coke will go in. Other than that, they've got their colour themes throughout, but they'll be talking about what do they want you to think? They want you to associate Coke with friendship, with love, with enjoyment, with the best times of your life. And that's what they're doing. And yet I see so many companies putting a post out with another picture of a tap or a boiler or dentistry. I mean, someone else's turkey teeth or whatever it is. But it's about connecting with people. People do business with people they like, know, and trust. And you have to be front of mind if you want to build those relationships and get them to connect with you. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to whiz through. And then the next one is strategy. And I often say to people, what's your plan for 2026? Oh, we're looking for growth. Yeah, how much growth? Where are you now? What's your current state? By the end of 26, what's your turnover going to be? What's your profit going to be? How many people are you going to employ? How many products are you going to have? How many markets are you going to be in? And it's like, if you haven't got a strategy, a map, a plan, then you're just firefighting. With a sat-nav, my sat-nav took me to some dodgy gate at the back here this morning, but with a sat-nav, once you put it in, my journey from Peterborough, apart from not moving anywhere fast on the M11, it was straightforward. And I knew, take the next left, drive for 6 miles, then turn right. And that's the same with a business plan or a strategy, and yet 90% of businesses or more, in my experience, have no plan, no detailed plan. Big companies do, they recognize the importance of it. SMEs mostly, we're going for growth, or we want to grow in this area, but they don't have a clear map, a clear plan, a sat-nav to success. Get a strategy, it's really important. And if you haven't got one, how do you know if you're even going in the right direction? Okay, and as I come to the close, I want to talk a little bit about AI and the importance of it. Okay, it is undeniable that AI is driving clicks, leads, automation, and so on. But it's also failing at a level that your reputation could be built up through PR and then destroyed if you do it badly. If you send someone who you're really close to and has been a client for a long time, a clearly, obviously AI written post or AI written letter, or they respond to you and it doesn't work, you can destroy your business as quick as you can build it. So be really careful to adopt it, to use it, but to be aware of the importance of it. Now, a side product that's coming out of the AI growth is people are, and as a behavioral profiler, I see it a lot, people are desperate for authenticity. They're increasingly looking at, oh, you know, I want someone who's real, or if they see a perfect presentation or a perfect, is that even real? Is that AI? And you'll see on many posts now those questions, is that AI? And there's a consultant who works in Ireland, a guy called Phil Graham, incredible guy, and I noticed he was normally really polished and everything perfect. He didn't AI use it or anything, but I noticed he was zooming and ahhing and like pausing and talking about his dog and all that in his posts. And so I rang him. I said, "What's changed, Phil? Your whole like outreach, posting has changed." And he said, "I know already, Mike, that people are starting to not trust stuff if it's too perfect. So I'm building sort of default human elements into it. Authenticity. Do not lose your authenticity in the role to be perfect, efficient, or optimized in terms of cost. People do business with people primarily. And AI is going to be a massive and increasing part of that. But how you use it is really, really important. Okay. Now, I started by saying success is a system. It is a system. It's not a secret. And your systems determine your success. And if I go into any business and I look at their systems for people, for operations, for finance, for sales, for marketing, for strategy, for change, within an hour, I could know whether that business is going to grow or fail going forward. Because in a lot of cases, SMEs don't even have a system for some of those areas. And you need to get that right. There's a good chance you're already good at the product or good at the service or credible and qualified at what you do, but it's the systems around it that can scale it that make the difference. So I want to finish on this, which is something I say a lot. Change is inevitable. You cannot stop it. It is happening. Survival is optional, but if you adapt and evolve and get systems for change that make sure you're constantly relevant and resonant to your changing customer needs, then thriving is a choice that you should make and will benefit from. Thanks very much for your time.